Well, welcome to the Friday night hang thing that Tom and I have been doing for a little while. Thank you guys for being here. And um, I just want to say one thing that I was thinking about, just an overview, and then we'll get to all this the meat of everything. From an outsider's point of view, Gordon was this great sort of songwriter and arranger, and then he was thinking maybe I'll just start a big band and then I'll get like all the best guys, and it just happens to be the guys in LA that are all the best guys everywhere. And now here you all are in this band. And I know there's a whole lot more to it, but Tom was saying just before we went live, you guys are like the premier guys, and Gordon is this great writer, and now here you are. Thank you for being here.
That's pretty much it.
So anyway, it's been fun, you guys. We'll catch you later. Thanks, man.
See you guys.
My mom used to say the same thing about me.
So I did a little. I didn't do a lot of research, but I did read that Gordon, you wrote your first arrangement when you were in 7th grade.
Right.
Is that true?
That's true.
Wow. So it was just in your blood to want to do this.
It got injected into my blood by Sammy Nestico and Count Basie.
When you were 7. Wow.
Yeah, I heard Sammy's chart on the Queen Bee on this Count Basie record, and it was one of those epiphanies. And I said, I don't know what this is, but I think I'm home. I think I got to do this. So my band director at the time said, you should write a chart like that. And I said, how do you do that? He goes, you'll figure it out. So I went home and kind of just figured. I just wrote a little chart. I had surrounded by manuscript paper, like I wrote alto 1, and then I wrote 4 bars, and then I got another piece of paper and wrote alto 2, and I wrote 4 bars that matched that, and I kind of was surrounded by paper. I didn't know there was a thing as a score, a way to organize. I just was writing, and the song was simple enough, and I could kind of hold it together in that way. But yeah, that's kind of when it started for me.
Gordon, quick question. Was that in Wichita? Did you grow up and stay in Wichita until
No,
you came?
we got out of there when I was 2.
Oh, okay.
Because my parents heard that there was teaching gigs in Southern California. So they left Kansas and came on out to LA, and I'm always been grateful that they did that.
I bet.
And then you went to Cal State Northridge.
Yeah.
And wasn't there a bunch of guys that come out of that school about the same time as you, like writers and players and everything?
It was one of the Cal State Northridge and Cal State Long Beach were probably the 2 options here at the time.
Cal State LA. Sorry.
Bob McDonald was teaching there, I believe, but I don't think USC really had a jazz thing going yet at the time.
Not bad, no.
So you would go to North Texas, which I didn't want to do that, or Berkeley, like Eric did, and I just wasn't comfortable leaving the nest, So I went to Northridge. Plus, the other thing about Northridge is that Gerald Wilson taught a history of jazz class there, and that his celebrity and presence kind of attracted me. And plus, they had a jazz band, so I would go and hang out in his class. It wasn't a music course; it was a GE course. I would just hang out and follow him around and ask him questions, and that's when he told me that he invented the sharp 9 chord. That's my chord. It's my chord. I invented that chord. I go, good chord.
So
cool,
to
man.
all the guys, there's so much that you have individually that you've done. But what's it like playing in Gordon's band as a unit and as in your sections and as an ensemble?
Oh, as a eunuch or unit? We only have one eunuch in the band. He's not here.
Where is he?
As just go around. We'll go around the room and hi. I play in Gordon's band and I'm the trombone player.
Well, that would be me. Yeah. No, yeah, we all known Gordon. God, probably myself. I've known Gordon since I remember seeing him with Cal State Northridge when I was in high school, or maybe it was junior high school or something. And seeing the band and how great it was. Hey, I'm just the truth. And then we met, I think, at Disneyland because he was playing in some show bands there. and I was playing in a Dixieland band. And then from there, we all kind of formed a friendship working at Disneyland and other places. And then Gordon started calling some rehearsals and rehearsing some of his music. And a lot of us were in those early rehearsals. And then all of a sudden he made a record about, gosh, what's it been, Gordon, 21 years ago now?
It was, in 1999, we made the first record.
Yeah. And so then from that moment, like Gordon has said, that he started getting some calls or emails for gigs. Hey, can you guys play at our school or play a concert somewhere in town for, elsewhere other than Southern California, in the Midwest or wherever it might have been. But playing in a band is something else. It's a challenge for one. All the charts, I swear, every time a chart comes in front of us, it's like, it just doesn't get any better than that. It really, I'm telling the truth. And then to play with that quality musicianship throughout the band in every chair, as an ensemble, it's really one of a kind experience as far as big band playing is, because usually, it's not always 18 or 19 guys really being able to cover their chair at the top level. Sometimes there's a couple turkeys here and there, but not.
Don't pull any punches.
But it's the truth. I mean, every band, except for Gordon's, maybe it has a problem spot or two, but. No, the music is challenging, and to have, the best lead player, best lead trumpet player anywhere playing in behind you, and the best lead alto player anywhere playing in front of you, is a really great experience for a person that gets to sit in the middle of the band. I get to hear everybody kind of at an equal sonic level, and it's really it's unexplainable. Just the intensity, the groove. Ray Brinker, you can't get a better listening drummer anywhere. And to stand up and play a solo with that rhythm section, it's just wonderful. The palette they set up. I've said enough, but somebody else talk.
Well, I've always said that playing. When somebody asks me what it's like to play in the Big Phat Band, I always say it's like the difference between driving a Datsun and driving a Rolls Royce. With different bands, because like Andy mentioned, there's no dead weight. There's no weaknesses. Everybody brings their A game to the table at all times. And so when we're firing on all cylinders, especially, when we read something down, it's pretty great the first time. But when we play in Japan and we play 2 shows a night for 5 nights in a row, the band really takes on a road band persona. And it's quite fun. And it's really the only band I've ever been in, other than Maynard Ferguson's band, where we play where it feels like a road band. We know the music, we own the music. We know it well enough to be creative and get away from it. So the rhythm section will take things to a different place, many times. Anyway, it's really quite fun. And to get to play with Andy and Eric and Ray and Gordon, it really doesn't get any better. It's I know a lot of great musicians, and I've played in a lot of great bands, including Bob Florence's band and some other name bands, but playing in Gordon's band has been, it's gone to the next level for me personally, and it's made me a better player because of the challenging music. And as Gordon will tell you, he's written charts for me, features. I go, oh, all right, I can't fucking play this. All right. And then Gordon would be very sympathetic and go, okay, well, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm going to fix the chart for you. And he doesn't know. He doesn't say it. He goes, oh, come on, you wimp. You're Wayne Bergeron. You can play this. And so I get all pissed off and I go home and I figure out how to play it. And then I come back and be able to play it. So, being challenged that way can be very good. So for me, it's made my musicianship better, I think, from the players I'm sitting with and because of the challenge of the music itself.
I had a teacher, or I just want to say I had a teacher once who, when I would say stuff like that, I can't play this, he would always just go, can't play it yet. Yeah, that's good. Go ahead, Ray.
Ray,
yeah, I would say the same thing as an Andy, basically. When you play in this band, it's a high bar, and you do have to bring your A game. And the beauty is, being in LA, we're all doing sessions, and we get to see a lot on a lot of different projects, and all of those are at a real high level. But there's something special about coming together with the big band. I think we all kind of take a little extra pride, You know, we love what Gordon does. We love, you know, trying to rise to the level that he writes for us. And man, he doesn't make it easy. He doesn't pull any punches. He brings stuff, and these guys sit down and read it. And you kind of don't want to let any down, so you're constantly trying your hardest. And what a joy, just like Andy was saying, just to sit in that, hear everyone else while you're playing. It's a treat unto itself.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, you know, one thing I really miss, we all miss playing live, you know, as much as, you know, I'm getting to do precious few live things like we, you know, all are. But, you know, one of the, as musicians, you know, you always get such a rush from having, you know, coming from a recording session that was just really great, or a live gig or whatever. And with Gordon's band, it's that way every time. You know, the band, you just know every time you take the stage that the audience is going to flip out, and they always do. And you know, I mean, like we've all said, you know, the band is full of amazing musicians, and, you know, Andy says getting to stand in the middle or sit in the middle of the band. I get to sit in the front. I'm in the middle of the front row, so I get to hear everything. I get to hear the world's greatest lead trombone player right behind me, and the world's greatest lead trumpet player right behind him. And so it really, and like everybody has said, you know, the charts are just so much fun. A lot of times, you know, this band is not really rehearsed. Gordon learned a long time ago not to bother calling rehearsals because everybody was so busy that they just called subs anyway. But the few times that we have rehearsed, like literally the very few times we have rehearsed, Gordon will walk in with literally a pile of charts. I mean, it's hilarious. He'll take a stack of charts and separate them all on top of the piano. There's this giant, and we'll read through them all, and every one of them was just, you know, gems, you know, and it really is. It's a rush. It's a rush to play with this band for the, you know, as far as live, from the top down. You know, Gordon is really as you know from his radio show, you know, is quite the wordsmith, and so he just has the audience captivated just from the way he speaks, and then the band starts to play, and there's a real sense of enormous pride in this band, because you just know it just sounds, the impact of the group is just so great, and because of that, we're all like wanting to play at our very best, because we don't want to be the ones who are sucking. We don't want to be the ones who are, you know, the exception to this incredible piece, you know, group. So, you know, it really is. I just can't wait for all this craziness to get over with, so we can start playing again.
I would want to point out I would want to point out at this juncture, if I could, though, that if you're a composer and you are looking at musicians like this, what would you write? And it's not that I try to write anything that's hard or challenging, whatever term you want to use. I just write what sounds good in my head. And despite everything you just heard, they play it pretty perfect the first time and the second time. And this is the level of engagement that these guys have with music and with their instruments. And so that enables us to not worry about things like, you know, intonation and, you know, right notes and right rhythm. So that's an automatic. So we can kind of quickly get to the nuance, which we're not like Count Basie if we're on the road for 200 nights a year, you know, so we have to get there quicker. And what we do have is the fact that we've known each other for decades now. And so there's a shorthand that kicks in. Wayne knows where Ray's going to put it. And Ray understands when Wayne wants to lay back, things like that. We don't have to talk about it. Everybody's such a good listener. And the other thing that I learned that was really important is in terms of chemistry. Because there's been some really good players that have filtered in and out of the band, but they didn't stick because maybe they weren't quite as able to be give up their own goals in favor of what the group needs to do. Follow the group whichever way it's going to go. And when it's time for them to solo, then it's you to go. Everything's open for you. And so not everybody was willing to do that, and it goes off the bandstand too. Because let's face it, when you travel, sometimes it's not ideal. Sometimes sometimes we get to the hotel and the room's not there, or the rooms are crappier. There's always kinds of stuff that happen. But if everyone is mindful of the fact that we're a link in the chain from Count Basie and Phat and Mel and all the great bands that that we all grew up admiring, and Maynard. We're a little small link in that chain, and that's important. And maybe it's more important than money. I don't know. I mean, money would be good if we got paid more to do it, but nobody's going to buy their summer home playing in this band or any other big band for that.
That was going to be my question. I was just curious. You all do film work and do lots of sessions, and I have a question about that. But in a perfect world, if you could just choose your gig to play and still your income wouldn't change, would you all just prefer to do this gig 80% of the time and not have to do the other stuff you do, which is probably makes you more money? Theoretically, if you could make the kind of money you're used to making and just play in the big fat band, would that be a kind of a good thing?
Tom, I hope you don't mind if I intercept that question a little bit, because everybody you see here has a career and of their own, and
right,
of their own, and do their own gigs and their own projects, and so in a way, that's what makes my life more blessed, if I could use that terminology, because they've chosen to be a part of this organization, and it really is a family, which is maybe a cliche in terms of, but I can think of no other way to describe it. We lost one of our brothers a couple weeks ago when Kevin Guerin passed away after a year-long battle with cancer, and we are all feeling it so deeply, and I like to think that we're resonating with one another in perspective of having a project that's been going 20 years now, and the importance of that, in terms of dream gigs, I'm sure we would all have that, but I know that these guys are used to doing from A to Z every day when there's actually a show business. So that's kind of part of their repertoire, is that they play with a multitude of people, and that's, I think, I don't know if I'm speaking for you guys, but necessarily, but I think that's one thing that defines what we all do.
But it would be nice to not have to do dumb gigs. Because everybody here, we all, we chase the almighty dollar, of course, because we have to. We have families, but we do, and we get to play a lot of great gigs. We get to play in your band, and we get to be guest artists and do different things that we really like. And Eric played with Chick Corea. That probably was pretty cool. I'm guessing. So, but a lot of times we go to work and we have to play, less than Gordon Goodwin's writing. Maybe way less, but we go in, and when our job is to polish that, maybe we have to make chicken shit into chicken salad, and it's a living. But ideally, if we didn't have to do that and we could just play great music and make the same money, play in the big fat band and the different bands we like playing in, for me, that would be the ideal thing. And as I get older and looking at retirement, man, I'm like, that's what I want to do. I don't want to do any, I don't want to, I don't want to be a slave to any one person, any one contract or anything. I want to play good music and make the kind of money we all deserve for playing good music.
Mm-hmm. Hey, I have a question. Are film dates happening right now in COVID? Are you guys able to do film dates?
Well, yeah. It's not Warren busy, but yeah.
So how does that work with Horn? And do you guys put separators in the studios? How are they doing it? Because with string players, they can wear a mask, but with woodwind and brass, there's going to be some spray.
As Andy will tell you, there's not so much spray, but they put plexiglass between us. We've gone back and done some Family Guys, but not with the whole orchestra, just brass, and then or brass and woodwinds, and we'd be very separated, and then the strings would come in, and we'd be in our little cubicles, huh, Andy? It's nice.
Yeah, it's very uncomfortable environment, just because you can't really hear the people next to you. You can maybe hear one person behind you, like the second trumpet player. If that's the person behind me, I hear him and very little of anybody else. So you feel like, well, you want to listen to everybody, so you start playing softer to try to hear everybody, and then you're not playing the dynamic on the page, and so you just have to kind of play out and rely on. You just hope you're blending, and you hope you're in tune with the guy next to you or the girl next to you, whoever it might be. So it's kind of an awkward situation to record. It really is. And unless the engineer is so good and has everybody in your headphones, and then some people are going, oh, I just want to hear a click. And you got other people, well, I want to hear the whole orchestra. And so it's a very convoluted way to record. But there's a number of films we've done at Fox, I guess, and of course the family guys at Fox. And we're spread out pretty good. They have a pretty good protocol. We all go in one door. There's a lot of hand sanitizers everywhere. Everybody's supposed to wear a mask when they're not playing their instruments. And we stay pretty far from each other. But musically, it's not the most ideal environment.
And now, there's a new rule, so everybody has to be COVID tested now. So when we go in for, I have some dates coming up for Sing 2, and coming up here at Warner Brothers, and mandatory COVID tests. I got my shot yesterday too.
Good for you. Yeah, good.
Nice.
Hey, a question to the big band thing, and when you go out before COVID and you would play, did you ever run into a lot of younger people, younger kids that really still appreciate the music or want to do the music? Because if just my little bubble here in LA, there doesn't seem to be a lot of big band stop music happening anymore. Are you getting the sense that younger people are still wanting to engage in that?
Well, that's our main demo. Those high school age band geeks. I mean, that comprises probably our prime audience, even though we have older people as well, of course. But I don't know that these people are committed to picking up the tradition and trying to make a career out of it. I don't think you can make a career out of it. So, but in terms of the support, the kind of audiences that Eric mentioned, I mean, these, they're kids, and they are, and we have what was that tune we played, you guys? I think it was Lost in Thought, and we played it in front of a group of thousands of high school kids. And a lot of times we'll kind of play our flashy stuff because they like that. But we played this pretty sensitive piece, and it was kind of long, 8 minutes long. And I was astounded to just realize the audience is just leaning in. These kids are just transfixed by this music with all this subtlety and kind of different than what the kind of energy we usually do. So we owe a lot to that audience. Matter of fact, most of the band directors that contact me say, "Hey, my kids told me about your band," and so they're real evangelists for us, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Very cool.
I bought this chart like 30 years ago, almost, or 25.
It'll count if it goes.
Oh, that's one of my, actually, Gordon, that's one, I was just thinking about that chart. It's really, I love that chart when I played in Waters' band, man.
I couldn't sing a note of it to you if I had.
The shout chorus is killer.
Memory for charts. Of course, any chart. Just try it. Any chart, he's got it.
Well, no, don't put me on the spot.
I couldn't remember that.
But I remember the shout, Yeah. Just because I used to, and it had a big, and then had a big shake on a high G in there.
So I've got a couple of individual questions. First, Ray, I saw some pictures of you. Unless it wasn't you, with long hair playing drums.
It could have been me. It may well have been me.
I would like to know more about what that was.
I don't know
long hair.
what you calling. It's funny. I kind of had a concurrent rock and roll career with my whole jazz thing. I mean, I went to North Texas, even though Gordon was scared to go there.
I was scared.
And I got and played with Maynard and did the whole thing. And I've always had a jazz career, but I had long hair, and I've always liked pop and rock music. So I kind of had a separate career. I mean, I played with Joe Cocker and David Lee Roth, and I was in the band Cinderella.
Oh,
constantly. Wow. I did Pat Benatar for 8 years. I had a lot of the rock and roll thing going on consecutively with the whole jazz thing. So you may have seen one of those photos out there. They're kind of embarrassing at this point.
Hey Ray, who played lead trombone with Cinderella? I forget. I'm trying to. I can't really remember.
That was me.
Okay.
It was let me tell you the stories I
Yeah.
could tell, but I won't.
Yeah, your touch and feel when I watch you play with the video YouTube videos that you guys did for the holiday music, by the way, that stuff was really good. And
Mm.
your touch and feel, you don't look like you're playing like a rock drummer would play. You
Yeah,
you know
I do a lot of real low volume gigs. I mean, I've been fortunate also. I was a founding member of the Tierney Sutton Band, which is a trio with a really soft vocalist, and we play at super soft levels, but
Mm.
really intensely, and it's a real challenge intensely at a very low level, and developed a whole way of playing with that ensemble that carries into the rest of the jazz things I do. So there are a lot of times with Gordon Band where we're hitting pretty hard. Joey De Leon, myself, we're both kind of wailing back there. But there's a lot of very subtle stuff too. The chart Gordon was talking about that's deceptively subtle. And the band just sort of has an amazing range to be able to control all that stuff. And I think a lot of what I learned on the small jazz is over to the.
And what I know about drummers too, it's not we're not worried about whether you can play loud or not,
Yeah.
right? I mean, so you already got the soft thing, yeah. So yeah,
Yeah, we in our clinics we often say as a vocalist, if you're not, or a horn player, if you're not constantly concerned about being in tune, you probably aren't. And as a drummer, if you're not constantly concerned about being too loud, you probably are.
I never heard that one. That's interesting. Yeah.
oh and then the for Eric, you did an album last year with Randy Brecker. And that looked like a lot of fun and sounds great. What was that like working with Randy on that?
Sorry. Yeah. If I mean, you can only imagine. I mean, it was incredible. I've gotten a chance to work with Randy quite a lot over the years. And we played a lot in Jeff Lorber's group and Chuck Loeb. And Will Lee had a band called Metro. We played in that band a lot, recorded some, but we did, some traveling here and there. And so we did one gig together, he and I, and it was my manager who called and said, "Man, that gig was great. You guys ought to consider doing a record." And I would never think, I never had thought to even, to do that, but gave it some thought and called Randy, and he was all up for it. So, right. So that record came out in September of last year, and we had, we had a lot of touring on that record that was planned and obviously canceled. But what's cool, Randy just called recently, a couple days ago, and said, "Man, there's been a couple of promoters who've called recently, and Montrose now talking about opening in this summer and North Sea and quite a few other festivals. What do you think?" He said, "Isn't it kind of early?" And I said, "Well, let's just say yes for now and see what happens." So yeah. But anyway, yeah. The great thing about and then George Whitty produced that record, who's just a genius.
George Whitty, yeah,
producer and all, so yeah, and Petitucci and Werkel and I are, and George are planning on doing something with that once things kind of, get back on track.
And then, thank you. And then Andy, the trombone thing on Soul. I understand that you were the young lady that was the student. That was you playing that.
But yeah, I was the young lady that played the drum. I knew absolutely nothing about what I was doing as I recorded that. It was just there was a big band there earlier in the day, and we were instructed to play like a junior high or a middle school band, and we were playing what was the tune, Wayne? When You Wish Upon a Star?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we were playing this version and playing at a real low level, let's put it that way, purposely, which is another skill set some of us have. So when they were done, they said, okay, Andy, you stay after school and we'll do some trombone solos. Oh, okay. And so I had no idea what it was, a movie, Pixar, whatever. And then so there's a couple cameramen on either side of me recording my every move. And I had to just concentrate with the communication between the booth and myself. And they gave me some instruction. Okay, play this tune, improvise here, sound like a middle school player, but like a good one. And so I did that first solo that she played, which was on Things Ain't What They Used to Be, I believe. And I realized I was replacing an actual middle school solo that was there on the recording. So they muted that and I played. And then when they were satisfied with that solo, then I played the solo later on in the movie, which is more, it was more delicate, more emotional scene. So they just instructed me, there might've been something written, but I improvised a little bit there too. And just made something musical and whatever the producer wanted, I tried to give it to him. And then I had no idea what it was. And then later this movie comes out and I get a text from a colleague saying, hey man, did you play some solos on this movie called Soul? And I was like, I don't know. And so then he says, I think it's you. And then so he sent me the link to it. And I said, oh yeah, that's me. I remember this gig, So it took me a while to register because the gig probably was, when was that, Wayne? A year and a half, 2 years ago?
Yeah, it was about a year and a half ago when we did that recording. We did some stuff after that. I did actually a couple of things from home even for that movie.
Yeah,
I did a session with that record too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, what'd you do, Eric? What was that?
I did something with John Baptista. It was me and Javi Mason and Nathan East played bass and John Baptista was playing, piano and I played alto and soprano. I think Shep's on it.
Nice.
Eric, I did the charts for that.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
It was because John Baptiste he doesn't really know apparently how to notate. So he gave Booker a voice memo of his stuff. Here's the score. It was like a voicemail on his phone. And so Booker gave it to me. He goes, can you make a sense of this? And he was just meandering on the piano for about 15 minutes. So he was just somewhere.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's a trippy guy. We did a date at Capitol, and I happened to be, between takes, we had some stuff to play, so I was trying to get warmed up, and I looked at one of the licks that was on the page, whatever it was, and I went, and I played it up an octave, like just get my chops going. And he goes, yeah, trumpet man, let's do that. And I was like, oh shit. So I gotta be careful what I play, or I'm gonna paint myself into a corner. I'm gonna be playing high notes all day. But he was a creative cat, man.
Oh man, he was wild, wasn't he?
We're doing takes, and he's like making all kinds of noise. He's humming and yelling and.
So not to get off the soul thing, but I have a question, and because Gordon, I want to know what the inspiration behind this song was. Last night I was sitting doing a live thing and playing a bunch of Ricky Skaggs. So I want to know what the inspiration of this is.
Bonanza.
Brokeback Mountain.
What was this written for? Gordon, what did you write this for?
Well, I always thought that maybe a hoedown would be a fun big band thing. I didn't think it had ever really been done before. And I started off thinking it was going to be a fiddle feature. And we do have fiddle. We had Charlie Bisharot play some violin, fiddle stuff in there. But I thought then we had Andrew Silwick in the band, and I thought, well, this would be a really good feature for him. He could get that kind of sound, and then so it's pretty much Aaron Copland and Dave Grusin, you know, are big influences on composition speaking on that. It was a lot of fun. I love that dude. Ray Brinker and Kevin Axt, who played electric bass on it. We were trying to decide if it should be upright or electric, but he goes, I think maybe the electric could make it a little more popish, and then I can rock because it goes into swing later. But Ray and Kevin and Andrew Silwick are just amazing on this. There's plenty of notated stuff for Andrew to play. He plays with the violin and with the piano, and then he just starts to play this incredible hoedown stuff, and kind of a mix of hoedown and beboppy language. And it's a funny thing about that chart, because a lot of jazz purists just can't get by. They can't get around the hoedown stuff. I think it's great. I think the groove is.
But the hoedown stuff kind of swings in its own way.
I think so.
I mean, I used to watch Hee Haw, and I just remember that Chuck Owens was such a great guitar player, and he would he would play the shit out of the friggin' guitar, and he would swing in a country way. Was it Chuck Owens? Did I get that right? Is that him? The kind of heavy.
No, Roy Clark.
Roy Clark. I'm sorry. Roy Clark. Yes, Roy Clark.
Yeah, he was a great player.
Yeah.
Buck Owens.
Buck Owens.
Roy Clark.
Thank you. There
Roy
we go.
Clark and Buck Owens.
Buck Owens.
That's it.
Now, Gordon, you did some work for some movies too,
Absolutely.
and you've won some Grammys.
Fake?
Yeah, you can say that.
I looked it up. He's won 4.
not for movies,
Yeah,
but
that tune was
Right.
a blast to play, I gotta say.
Yeah. Ray, by the way, on the hood, he's playing that train groove, that thing, just so propulsive. But you're right, Tom. It's swinging. It's still swinging too. But yeah, I mean, I was so lucky to be able to through this band, because you guys, I didn't start this band till I was 40 years old, and I was working at the time at Warner Brothers, working on and a lot of animation stuff. Spielberg produced animation shows like Pinky and the Brain and Animaniacs, and it was great, but I remember thinking, is this it? Do I go and work at Warner Brothers and I write like what they want, then I go to Disney and I write what they want. Maybe do I ever plant my flag and write what I want to write? So it's slowly but surely, I would come home from work and I'd write a big band chart from like 10 at night to about 1. And the first chart I wrote was a chart called Shake Your Bones. And it took maybe a week or two. Then I wrote a chart called, I did an arrangement with a Bach 2-part invention in D minor, and then a few others. And after about 4 or 5 months, I had the chart and we went in and recorded it. So, but the work, the commercial music work, was the financial key to starting the Big Phat Band, because nobody was on the phone handing me money to do a big band. So I was lucky that I had these other income sources, and I could funnel that into, getting the band on its feet. And so that's kind of what it has been. A balance between the music I love and the music that has more economic value.
So obviously you're a known entity in LA. Do you get called for movie scores, or is that kind of a sort of a weird thing that you don't call for movie scores? Because I think
I've gotten called for less since I started the Phat Band. I was doing a lot more of that stuff, and I think what happens there, people develop an idea of, okay, who is he? Oh yeah, Wayne Bergeron, he's the high note guy. Gordon Goodwin, he's the big band guy.
It sucks. I hate that.
Yeah, well, right. So I think there was a perception like, well, he's off on the road or he's writing his jazz stuff, and let's get a guy that's committed to film music. So I've been kind of considering whether it's appropriate to go back into that. But I got to tell you what about film scores these days. The use of melody as a dramatic device is not really appreciated anymore. Melody it takes up attention from the audience, and a lot of contemporary directors feel that distracts from the realism of the story. That's why a lot of film scores are sound design and just kind of texture and atmosphere. And so, and loop. And so I'm just not sure if there's a million guys that could do that.
But the thing is, John Williams made a career out of great melodies.
Well, he's John Williams.
Well, no, but doesn't that like a pattern that works? That's interesting.
It works, but you have to have a director. Like certain directors are down with it, like Brad Bird, who directed The Incredibles. He loves the melody. He loves the music being a character in a film, as opposed to directors who want it just to be like wallpaper in the background. So there are certain directors, MacFarlane, Seth MacFarlane is another guy who loves musicians, loves to feature them. So Family Guy and American Dad and all those shows have I don't know, what weight is it, a 40-piece band?
45 piece.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Family Guy fan. So yeah, I'm amazed by the music.
So guys like that will help maybe sponsor some sort of a renaissance as that goes. But it's for me, I guess I've just kind of tried to follow my heart in terms of what I should be doing, because as Wayne indicated earlier, we don't have a definite amount of time. So I've become a little bit jealous about how I spend my time and who I spend it with.
Yeah.
We just had a 42-year-old guy in our band die of cancer the other day. When's our number up? So what are you going to do with your time? Play music you hate for the money? Maybe a little bit of that, because you need to do that. But I've been just more judicious about it myself.
Do you guys think this whole time with the pandemic and everything has made us, and with all the personal things that we've all went through on top of it, has made us appreciate or think more about what you just said, Gordon, about spending what really means the most to us, time doing that? Is it more intense thinking that way because of the pandemic?
Eric?
Anyone?
Of course. I you see these walls around me. This is me. I hardly even, gone to the store in the past year. This is everything. Wow. So, my wife actually just scheduled a social event for us on Sunday. I'm not even sure what it is, or we're actually going to be like seeing other human beings in three-dimensional, like flesh and blood kind of,
Hey, did you get your invitation to that?
I don't remember. Maybe it's in my spam folder here somewhere.
You must have gotten it. Yeah. It's only 2 other people, so probably not. But no, we really, I used to complain a lot about, the seat, Tom, all about it, man. You're a big time traveler. Complain about having the wrong seat on the airplane, or having to wait until, your turn to get on the plane or whatever, or, the little soap wasn't big enough at the hotel, or, give me a middle seat, man. Right now, no, but, I think we're all going to appreciate, what we have, on a lot of levels, not just musically, frankly, once things get back on track.
Yeah. By the way, I do have a couple questions. First of all, I was for Andy and Eric. Louis Fasman wanted me to send his best to both of you.
Oh man!
Because I just talked to him. I forgot to mention, I think Wayne knows Louis too, but
tell him thanks for saying hi to me too.
Yeah, he didn't say. I'll tell him. Yeah, he didn't say hi. I'll tell him that because he didn't say hi to you.
Tell him he's a chooch. He actually called me recently and left me a really sweet message. We haven't talked in a long time. We were on Paul Anka's band together with Andy as well, and we were the three amigos. Man, we hung out. The three of us hung out a lot.
Louis is one of my very, very closest friends since I was about 17 years old. We've known each other a long time.
Great player and great cat, man.
Oh,
And he's doing real estate now, which is
Well, he is, but he's still playing.
no, I know,
Still,
he's still playing, but
he's
he
still playing.
actually he said, well, I'm going to go make some money. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
I know.
that's his bad music. He doesn't sells houses,
Yeah.
oh man,
And,
he saved the Al Hurt band. I was on the Al Hurt band. It was 19.
I want to ask you about that. I need to ask. That was on my list. I have it written down here. I need to ask you about playing with Al Hurt, Eric. What was that like? You were young.
Yeah.
What, you're 19, 20? How old were you?
Just 20, I guess. Yeah, right out of.
You played Java?
It was a big band, So
Oh,
I think we did have you have to ask Louis about that. I forget. But anyway, yeah, they held auditions at Dick Grove here in LA, and I got the gig, and a bunch of us, Louis got the gig, and Louis and Chuck Howe, and
Chuck Howe.
yeah, and Larry Lunetta, Larry,
importation.
and then there was this other guy. Thank you. Yeah, another guy who didn't stay in the band very long. Anyway, Louis like he saved the day. I'll spare you the details, but man, he was the nobody. He was this shy kid, and there was a hole that was left.
Tell him I said hello.
What? Yeah. So anyway, he stepped up, and it was like, oh wow, who the hell is this? Yeah, Louis was incredible, and he really, there was no need to replace anybody else in the trumpet section. He stepped up, and it was killing.
Was Al a good person to work with? Was he a nice guy?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
he was yeah, super fun. I mean, we were all very young. Most of us were very young in that band, and he treated us great. And
Lewis,
One of my first.
What was that, Ray?
Go ahead.
Couldn't hear you, Ray.
We have some weird delay going on with Ray.
we're going to pitch in, and we're going to buy Ray some better internet.
I think Ray was saying that he worked with Lewis too.
And actually, Sal wanted me to say hi to Wayne, and not to the rest of you either, just to Wayne.
Awesome, yeah.
So I don't know. So I don't know what's up with that.
My brother Sal.
But Andy, first of all, your brother's a neighbor of mine. We live 15 minutes from each other.
Oh yeah.
We've only hung out once. We need to go. Hey, yeah, he's right up the road.
Oh, cool.
I live in San Ramon. I think he's in Walnut Creek, right?
Yeah, he was. He's now on the Central Coast now because his wife is working from home. So
they moved again. Oh,
yeah,
he's not my neighbor.
But he will be soon. I think they're moving back up once COVID ends, and they're all safe.
And what's going on with the Giants this year? How do you see that?
Probably not much. I'm guessing the Dodgers trying to buy another championship. They're doing the Yankee thing.
Yeah.
It probably won't work 2 years in a row, especially, and nothing counts from last year. I don't know if you knew that. Nothing counts. So
of course it's COVID. So Wayne and Eric and Gordon especially, and you, Ray, like, are you guys Dodger fans?
I'm my wife's from the Bay Area, so I'm a Giants fan, and I was when they were playing Houston, we had Houston hats on in the house here. And I bought one.
Gordon's got to be a Dodger fan.
He's a diehard Dodger.
Yeah.
I don't really give a shit.
Now, Eric, I read that you were born in Sacramento and moved to San Mateo when you were 2.
Uh-huh.
When did you leave us in the Bay Area to go to, I guess, Newport Beach? Is that right?
Eventually we lived in Tustin when I was in 4th grade, and then we rented a house that was owned by my uncle, I think, if I remember correctly, in Newport Beach for a short time.
You moved around a little bit when you were younger.
Yeah, but from that point on through high school, I was in Orange County, California.
I wanted to count you as a Bay Area boy, but I guess I can't.
Well, until I was 9, so I don't know.
Yeah.
A little bit of blood there.
Yeah.
Gordon, there was a question here. Somebody wanted to know if you've ever written a chart that you thought nobody would like, but it ended up being a hit. Everybody loved it.
Well, Hunting Wabbits comes to mind. Hunting Wabbits was
What? That's
well,
I love that tune.
in this chat were looking sideways at me when I brought that shit in. They were like, "What?"
Man, I woke up. I literally once woke up and I had been listening to it. And I woke up in the morning and I was sitting there thinking about music. And it was like, it was going through my head.
Yeah.
That tune.
You know how it goes. Yeah.
That's Hunting. I got the right tune, right? That's Hunting Rabbits, right?
Well, they weren't sure what the whole that was about, but then we played it at a gig, and the audience told us the first time they played it, they went nuts. It goes in the swing section, and they're like, "Ah!" So there it is, you know.
When Gordon brought that chart in after we played, I go, "Hey, you got any left?"
Hey, there we go. This is great.
You can stop it now.
Eric, your soprano sax tone is of my favorite soprano sax tones of all time. There's other ones I like as much, but none I like better.
Oh, thank you, bro.
Yeah, totally, truly. Like I remember, like when your Oasis album came out and you did that the Oasis tune. I remember I must have listened to it like 4 times in a row because I just went like, damn, that's a great sound. And the melody, the solo, the whole tune. That's Russell Ferrani tune, I believe.
Russell and I and Jimmy Haslip wrote that together.
Oh, you all wrote it together, okay? Yeah, great. Yeah.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, no worries. And I have a question for Gordon, which I've been wanting to ask. Okay, so you're a burning jazz tenor player. I've heard you play. You're burning, but you play now. Are Gordon's piano chops as good as tenor chops? I mean, you solo on piano, right? And actually, somebody wants to know what your setup is too. What is your setup?
What's your setup there? What is that setup?
Is that the gal that makes Brecker copies in LA?
Nope.
I have mouthpieces too. We have mouthpieces.
Hold that up again, Gordon.
What is that? What is it?
This is my new Eric Marienthal tenor mouthpiece.
Ah,
come on, Tom.
Come on, baby. It's great. Really loving it.
You want to see my mouthpiece? I'll get my mouthpiece.
Wayne, show your mouthpiece again.
Wayne, you're making mouthpieces.
I don't make them, but I sell them. I have my own models. I have five different models. And,
but you had your input into how it was made.
Oh yeah. It's
you made it. It's
become a nice little side business. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can give some context to that where I showed that because your question about my tenor playing. Thank you. I've always felt a little awkward about it because I'm not really a full-time saxophone player anymore. And on our gigs, I'll have like one solo, and then I've got these beasts in the front row that are just down there killing it. So I would have some anxiety about playing piano, which I do on the gig, and then I go, I got to pick my horn up and go. Like, oh man, it was a source of a lot of anxiety for me to kind of transition from being band leader, piano player, tenor player, go make this work. And finally, I just kind of told myself, you know what? If this is a problem, then just don't fucking play tenor. Don't do it. The audience doesn't need that anxiety. The guys don't need it. Just don't play. And I said, and one of the things that affected me, we just started doing some work with this guy, James Morrison, down in Australia. And this is
I know James Morrison.
And we did a gig in Tokyo with him. And the first night he's playing trumpet and trombone and killing it. And then the next night we're about to go for the first set, and we're in the green room. I said, James, where's your horns? Everyone else is there going, warming up and ready. And James goes, oh, they're on stage, I think. I said, you want me to go get them for you? He goes, no, it would be okay. And he just walks up the stage, picks up his trumpet, and dives in and just transcends the physicality of what most of us have to do. And it's all in here. And I thought, you know what? There it is. So I stopped making excuses, and I just said, I'm going to just inhabit and commit to this horn. Now, when you get the right equipment and when you're in touch with your equipment, it's a whole different thing. And I'm not saying this to blow smoke towards Eric, but the mouthpiece has really unlocked a lot of things for me. You know, when the sound coming back at you sounds good, and it just unlocks your time and everything gets better. Your ideas, what to play, your ability to play them. And so I'm kind of on a high right now with having this new mouthpiece. I have no gigs which to display it on, but I'm having a great time playing the horn every day. One of the unspoken gifts about COVID. I can practice. I haven't been able to practice for many, many years. So that's been a nice thing.
Cool.
Somebody in the chat said infomercial time.
Well, so Eric, is that a retro revival mouthpiece that you helped design?
Yes, exactly.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, I see that. Okay. Do you have can I get an inside deal on that or something?
Yes, of course. Absolutely. Everybody can.
So Wayne, how you doing, Wayne?
Yeah.
When did you guys get here? Sorry, I just turned off there for a minute.
Yeah, I want to know how many miles Andy ran this week.
Probably, let's see, what's today? Friday? I've probably put in about 20 miles, maybe. Yeah, something like that. Some days I'll walk with my wife, and she runs a little bit, and then other days I'll run with my pals, and other days I'll run by myself. But about 20 miles probably this week.
So you go 4 miles a day?
5 miles usually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you running on hills, flats?
Yeah, I'm up here in the hills by the mountains in Altadena, and so I start off the run with a brutal uphill 1.5 miles or so, and then I flatten out, and then I go another 0.5 mile up, and then I come all the way back around home. And yeah, so it's a good route. It's challenging. It's great.
Wow.
You run, Tom?
I used to a long time ago in my 30s. I did 25 miles a week up until I was about 40. And then when I was about 44, I got in tower, and then I'll change.
Did you run the road? Did you try to run when you're on the road at all?
Well, I actually do high intensity workouts. It's kind of the super high intensity kind of stuff. And I'm a golfer, so when I play golf, I walk. I've walked 18 holes today. Actually, the last 3 days. Avid golfer, but yeah. I need to lose about 30 pounds before I'll think about running and doing that to my knees at my age. I'll be 63 next month. So, yeah, I think I'll wait till I lose some weight to run again. But I love hiking, and there's great hiking around here in the East Bay.
Yeah, there is, yeah.
Really great hiking, and I love walking up hills, and I love walking on a golf course. And, yeah.
Yeah, I bet Sal Cracchiola's out there running every day on the road. I can see that.
Well, the guy to emulate on the road in Tower is to hang out with is David Garibaldi, because he's a 72-year-old monster, workout monster. I mean, he goes into the gym and he does this stuff. I mean, he'll sit there and do 100 push-ups, but then he'll do stuff. You know what bear crawls are?
Mm-hmm.
You know, bear crawls. Yeah, I remember we were in Tokyo like about 5 years ago, and I worked out with him for 14 days. And for the first 3, and he kicked my ass, and I was so sore. But I literally lost almost 10 pounds, and I must have put on like 3 pounds of muscle. I don't know, in like 14 days working out with him. But
hey, Tom.
Yeah, yes.
Was he that way before the accident? Did he work out that crazy?
Yes, he did. And he worked out more after the accident. Yeah. Even after. So Dave's about just under 6 feet. He might be 6 feet 5'11". Might have shrunk a little bit. He was probably about 172, maybe 175. A lot of muscle on his body. And after the accident, when he got out of the hospital, he was 150. He was like really like, and then he's packed it all back on again. I mean, that guy is just a monster. I mean, he's the greatest thing, you know, to be a guy to be around in my inner circle, that I get to be around him and play with him and just be around his attitude and his commitment to everything he does, his health, his music. Yeah. Yeah, it gets me to be a better person, although I'm not him. I don't have his discipline yet. I'm working on it.
So Wayne lost a bunch of weight.
I don't recommend my diet.
Yeah, but Wayne.
How are you?
By choice.
Doing, Wayne?
How you doing, Wayne? Everything's.
I'm doing great. Actually, I'm hiking. I hike 5 and 6 mile hikes on a regular basis. My wife and I, and we go up to local mountains here. And a matter of fact, I was at REI tonight buying new hiking pants and said Wayne Bergeron never. And I'm doing Pilates, and I'm doing all the shit that I would.
That's what we do in our 60s. We do Pilates and yoga.
Before cancer. But now when I'm on these hikes, Barb and I, the other night, we did kind of a power hike, about 5.5 miles without stopping and brisk pace. So I was going, I got long legs and I was going and I did this whole thing without stopping. And when I started doing this, I would stop 10 times and be huffing and puffing. So I've needed to put a few pounds back on, which I have, but I'm pretty healthy right now. I mean, just as far as my physical health, the only side effects from the cancer treatments I really have are saliva gland issues. That mask back there, the green mask, I think I might have showed that to you, Jeff, last time, but that's my radiation mask that I'd be laying on my back and they would pin me to the table with that, and then the radiation machine would go around, and you have a tongue depressor in your mouth so you couldn't, so they don't radiate the wrong part of your tongue or something,
Whoa.
So but radiation burns 2,500 to 3,000 calories a pop, and I did 35 days.
Whoa.
So you have to be eating. I mean, you have to eat a lot of high caloric food. So I'm just eating and eating and eating. But the drag is when the side effects start kicking 3 weeks in, it's like swallowing glass. Your taste buds are shot. So eating becomes problematic. So I was doing soup, but I didn't want to get a feeding tube or any of that crap, so I was like determined not to do that. And I got through it without doing it, and I practiced actually. My throat was killing me, but I still played my horn through most of my treatments. So it was a sucky diet, but being on the other end of it now, you were just talking about, the pandemic and stuff. With the pandemic and it's happening to me, it's kind of changed me as a person in a lot of ways. And maybe I'll go back to being an asshole again at some point. But I think I've lost a little bit of my edge in certain situations where maybe I just have a filter now, where before I would just say anything. As Andy's laughing because he knows what a smart ass I am. I just go in for the kill. And now I'm a little more sensitive about what somebody might think if I say something, off color. I'll come back and worry. I'll be back to being an a-hole in no time.
Ray, what do you do for exercise?
Roxy, his daughter.
I'm not sure he heard you, Jeff.
I think he might have been able to hear me, but he's frozen and can't respond.
Everything's delayed for him. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I think chipping in and getting him internet connection would be a good idea.
Yeah.
So, Gordon, do you know Stephen Fudex?
I do know Stephen. Yeah, he played in a band I led for a little bit, an online band.
Yeah, he said to say hi because he was tuning in.
Cool.
And then a guy from Calgary is tuning in, and he said, I play in a rehearsal band in Calgary, Canada, and every time we play one of your charts, every high school kid in the audience knows it, especially Wabbits and Jazz Police.
Yeah, they're probably the two. Those and Count Bubba are probably the three, most popular songs. But yeah, you know what? I mean, to hear that stuff, it still blows my mind. It really does. I'm not. I can't make sense of it because all I ever wanted to do was just write music that sounded good, and then finally I got, the courage and the balls to try to lead a band and see where it went. So the fact. But one of the things that we've been able to experience as a band is that sometimes the music touches people in a significant way. There's a kid up in the Bay Area, he was 13 or 14 when he died. And his mom and dad wrote an email to me and said, I wanted to tell you about Jesse, was his name. And he had cancer his whole life. come, he would battle it back, and then he would come again, And he started to play saxophone when he was 10 or 11 or something, and then got into middle school and discovered the Big Phat Band, and he became a huge fan of the band. And it really, she goes, he would listen to it all day, and he had a little iPod, and he would listen to it at night when he go to sleep. She goes, and then he'd have to go get chemotherapy, and each successive treatment, as Wayne can probably tell you, gets kind of harder cumulatively, So this kid would listen. He'd go, Mom, hold on. And he put his headphones on. He would listen to the Big Phat Band for a few minutes. And he would go, okay, I'm ready. Let's go. And he would use somehow that music would give him, some sort of a courage to go through chemotherapy. So we went up there at Yoshi's and did a whole benefit concert to set up a scholarship for him. But when his parents told me that story, I mean, I come close to tears every time I tell it, because I don't know what we could do that would be better than that. I don't know what we could possibly do with our music or our lives than, when you reach somebody that way. And we've been so lucky that that's happened, and to a lot of kids. And it's an awesome thing to watch happen, and probably the greatest reward that we have.
Wow. Great story.
That's a great story. Wow.
I just thought I saw a question. My friend, maybe a saxophone player from the Philippines. Her name's Roxy Modesto.
Roxy.
Guys know Roxy. So she just said, and I feel for this too, as women being a minority in our business. She says, any advice for folks getting bullied on the bandstand, or any clapbacks that would work? I guess, clapbacks means, witty retorts. Anyway, like, what do you do if like somebody's being especially, I guess, if you're women or either sex, have you guys had that happen or seen that happen? This guy's being kind of a dick on the bandstand, and don't mention names. You just be honest. No, seriously, tell the story. No names. Just what happened.
Well, and I know Roxy, and she's been tuning into all my master classes. Hey, Roxy, what's happening, girl? And you asked me this same question last week, so I should turn it over to the other guys. But being a man, it's hard to put be in your shoes. But my advice is just to play as great as you do, and show what you are, and people can't handle it because of other stupid reasons, and it's their fault. And hey, Roxy, right on. Yeah. And so, man, just keep rocking, and right, guys.
Yeah, definitely. My wife is a musician as well, so she's dealt with the different things in her career, but she's just also a very strong-willed person and a great musician, so she just kind of plowed through anything that was in her way.
So if you're talking about sexism as an aspect of that, but it's not always there, because I think all of us can relate to times when we were just coming up, and there was kind of an initiation, if you will, between the existing guys. I mean, I was playing with Don Menza in Louis Nelson's band, and he was brutal to me, and it was horrible, but yet he wasn't exactly wrong. I took a lesson with Phil Woods, and Phil just kicked he hated me, and he took no hesitancy in telling me how much I sucked.
Oh, man.
And he didn't handle with any delicacy at all, and it was devastating, but he wasn't wrong. And so a lot of, and I finally stood up to Don Menza after about a year. And after I stood up to him one time on the bandstand, he all of a sudden I was okay. So it's a little bit of a testing your mettle thing that happens, that maybe's not altogether bad, that we go through those gauntlets once in a while, to kind of decide who we are, and as Eric and Wayne both said, that's do what you do. And if someone's going to cut you down because they're threatened by you, or because they have a built-in prejudice against, women or whatever, there's not a lot you can do about that. You can't change them, probably. You can just change how you react.
Did you see Dan Page just posted after he said he's my officer? Please tell me he needs to be on time this Monday or the ankle bracelet goes back on.
Yeah, Dan.
That's funny. So, hey, about the bullying, have you experienced bullying from the perspective of how somebody plays? Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And sometimes it isn't necessarily how they talk to you, but it's just how they play. They kind of push you around in how they play, like louder than you or something.
You know, we've all experienced that on some level. I'm sure. I can think of a very famous band leader that I know that I've worked with. That's kind of that way. It's doesn't matter what the situation is. It's always a competition.
Right.
It's a friendly competition, but it becomes a competition as opposed to like, hey, let's make some small talk first, then we can start swinging at each other. But
that's for sure, Wayne. And I had that experience, I think, with the person you're talking about that was pressing his advantage in terms of what he could do.
Right.
Trading. But then the opposite of that was James Morrison. I would go down and trade with him, and he can play high and fast and loud, and he never did it. It was a real conversation. He would react to what I said, and we pass it back and forth that way. It was a lot more of a giving, thing. So, but once again, people are who they are sometimes, and you can't do much about it. I guess if there's a problem, if there's someone that can affect your hireability by unjust criticism, I think with that you can see that's happened in in this town a couple times, and maybe at some point you have to maybe take some steps to kind of defend what you do.
So, fellas, how are you all feeling? If we've been at this an hour and 15 minutes, we're getting close to quitting time. About usually what we do is between now and 9:30, and a few more questions, and then wrap it up.
Sounds good.
I have a question. I have a question for Eric.
Sax players.
Well, I kind of want to know. Eric. Eric got to spend a lot of time being with Chick Corea, and Chick Corea has been a huge inspiration to me, improvisationally and musically, and just watching YouTubes and I've been watching your YouTubes with him, and just if you could just share something about Chick that you think would be relevant, that you would want people to know about, or a good story, or just some little tidbit about what he means to you, or a story, or I don't want to frame it, but I'd love to hear your feelings. Maybe you've kind of recovered at this point. It must. Yeah.
We're everybody in the band is in as much shock as everybody else. Everybody found out all at the same time. Chick had been sick, not for a long time at all, but he kept it completely private. We actually have talked to a lot of musicians in the past 3 weeks, and Herbie didn't know, Roy Haynes didn't know, Stanley Clark didn't know.
Wow.
All the old guard that you would think if you had told anybody outside of his family, it would have been them. But so he didn't want anybody to mourn over him. The members of the Electric Band and I have been talk every day. It's we're about to put out a live record that we did recently. We were going to be doing a documentary on the band, and so that's really a shock. We're gonna there's been a lot of, we've all done interviews and all this stuff, but we're in 2 weeks we're gonna do a just the four of us are gonna do a Facebook Live, just an Electric Band thing, no moderator, no nothing. Gonna talk.
Ooh, cool.
And we just decided that today, as a matter of fact. And and we had a lot of touring planned, and you know, yeah, but on the other hand, you know, I got to play with Chick for 35 years, you know, mostly on. I mean, I don't think that I've been told a few times that I played and recorded with Chick Corea more than any other saxophone player, you know, and so
I'm pretty sure you have.
so you know, so I feel like unbelievably blessed to have, you know, had, you know, one of the greatest. I consider him the Mozart of our time. You know, I mean,
And the work you did on his recordings was awesome and epic. I mean, you were a perfect fit for that band.
well, thank you.
Really did great, man.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, he was there. You know, I didn't sleep well on buses, and neither did he. And so for years, in those years that we were doing bus tours, you know, I'd end up in the back lounge, and so would he, and we talked for hours until the sun came up, like a lot, you know, over the course of years. You know, so he was a really close friend, also, and he just had this amazing. You know, you've read and heard a lot of things about Chick. One really cool thing about Chick that was really true is that, you know, I mean, everybody wanted to talk to Chick Corea after the gig, and, you know, there'd be people, and anybody, he never like said, "Hey, how you doing? Okay, I gotta get going." You know, anybody who he was very, very careful about who he engaged with. Not that he didn't want to, it's just that he never ever wanted to like give, you know, only, you know, anything less than 100% of him. And everybody, you know, over all those years, you know, if a friend of mine came to a gig, and I really wanted to, you know, have them meet Chick, and they wanted to meet Chick. It was always so great because I could take him into the dressing room and introduce him to Chick, and it wasn't like he'd kind of blow him off. It was like he'd really be, you know, I mean, Gordon can speak to this. I mean, he really would, you know, engage and talk and you know, give his whole self. And even after a gig where he just, you know, spent however much time playing, you know, and as a musician, you know, he was just, as a band member, he was just one of the guys that I remember when I first joined the band. I thought, you know, I am not, you know, I'm not good enough for this. I mean, John Petitucci and Dave Weckl and Frank Gambale, I'm just, you know, I really felt intimidated. And at the first gig, I remember him just, you know, not by saying, he was always very complimentary speaking wise, but just the way he would comp for you. It was just like, you know, your dad, you know, just you do something like, you know, taking your son to Little League game, and you know, you're up at bat, and he was like, yeah, go, you know. But he would do that in a musical sort of way. You play something, and then you just respond musically in a way that was just like, you know, go. And the more you do it, the you know, the more he dug it, and it was just, you know, he turned the most potentially intimidating situation into the most comfortable situation, and I could go on for hours about how great he was. But you know.
Hey, Eric, as you know, I did a Chick tribute on my radio show a couple weeks ago, and I got quotes from different people, including Eric, and Bob Minster talked about a time he was playing and solo, and Chick was comping behind him, and he goes, "I realized that Chick's comping was way more interesting than my solo was."
By the way, I hate to change the subject, but Dan wants to let Wayne know that as his parole officer, tell him he needs to be on time for his Monday, or the ankle bracelet goes back on.
I'll be there, Dan. I'll be there. I'll make sure.
Anyway, I thought that was pretty funny.
Did you guys see this question? How do you deal with bad days? I'm a trumpet player. How do you deal with good days? The good days are great, but the bad days are terrible. How do you push through and still keep everything going on bad days? And that is for all musicians.
I think he's speaking to Wayne especially here.
Yeah, every day is a bad day as far as I'm concerned. I just trying to fight through it. No, I mean, you have to get your consistency up to a level where your bad days are good enough. And as a trumpet player, it's a lot like being an athlete or any brass instrument, really. You know, the weather affects us greatly. If it's cold, if it's hot, how you feel, because it's connected to you, you know. And so if the response is not right, that's why we spend a lot more time, brass players warming up and doing all that stuff. It just takes to get into a zone and to build some consistency. So that roller coaster they're talking about of inconsistency is not like this, the peaks and valleys. It's more like this. And but we all have to deal with bad days. I watch Maynard Ferguson on the bandstand every night. We'd be playing like 13 nights in a row, man, and he's out front and and never warms up hardly at all. And he's wasn't the picture of health. And I'd watch him out there, and even on bad, somehow he would pull it out and make it happen. And maybe it wouldn't be as great as the night before, but it was always still pretty great. So I don't like having bad days. Of course, if I don't play a good set, I get off the bandstand a little depressed, but it makes me want to practice harder and make sure that doesn't happen again. I guess when something bad happens, you want to do everything you can do to make it not happen again.
Yeah. Before we get out of here, Gordon, tell me about your radio show and all of that you're doing.
Well, K-Jazz approached me. K-Jazz, which is the major jazz FM station here in LA. I've listened to it my whole life. I had different call letters back in the day, but a bit of an LA institution, and they approached me about 4 years ago about doing a show. And so I went in for a meeting with Saul Levine, who owns the station. He owns his own transmitter too, and he owns a country station and something else. So, and I said, well, maybe it'd be good, but I'd like to be able to play any style of music. So if I want to play, Miles Davis and Count Basie, but if I want to play John Williams or Stevie Wonder, or there's this other band I heard about called Tower of Terror. I think called
Tower of Terror. Yeah, that's a good band. Funky, very funky.
Yeah. And so I said, so anyway, I want to break down stylistic, barriers. And he goes, that's great. Just don't play any of that damn John Coltrane. I hate that shit. Coltrane and Cannonball and Coltrane, Giant Steps and, before Supreme. He goes, all right. So that was the only thing he said. One time, though, I played Bruno Mars, and they kind of got me. What are you doing playing that? I said, well, it's a great tune. It's like funky. It's got a great horn part. And I go, plus the lyrics are Uptown Funk, gonna funk you up, not fuck you up, funk you up. And they said, well, we just feel it's like a little bit ethically. I said, okay, so let me get this right. Should I play the music of Charlie Parker, the heroin addict? Stan Kenton, whose own daughter accused him of raping her? Should I play? I go,
wow, I didn't know that.
So the attorney for Cage said, play whatever you want. So they've been great. The show is kind of a combination of me talking, which I do, and opinionating, but also a little bit of interviews. I can't do a long interview, but I can play Eric's and Randy's record and have Eric give me a quick soundbite, and I try to make the show really instructional. I talk about why does this music work? Listen to that last chord. Bob Mitzer put a flat 5, but he also has a 5th down there. Hear this rub. I'll get on the piano. And it's almost like a music appreciation too. And the audience seems to like it. And I do some goofy Monty Python-esque kind of stuff. But it's really fun. I'm learning a lot. Plus, I'm also learning about new artists because I'm always looking for who's the new person. So I'm playing music of up and coming people. So it's really fun. I love radio. Finally, I talked them into archiving the shows. So they can archive, because of the FCC, they can archive a show for 2 weeks at a time and then take it down and then put the next one up. Because it was just FM radio. And I said, look, kids aren't going to listen to this. They don't tune into FM radio. Who has an FM radio? Maybe in your car. So we need to stream it, and it needs to be archived so they can stream on demand. So we finally got that going. And anyway, thanks for asking. It's really fun. I enjoy doing it, and I got it down so I can do my 2-hour show pretty much in about a day, recording, kind of planning the show, recording, editing, and tuning it in. So.
Before we wrap it up, one thing that I wanted to just make a comment on about Wayne, and this is what I was thinking when Wayne said, I want to get to a level where I'm okay. And I just want to say, looking at you guys and knowing who you are, who you've played with, what you've been, a sucky day for you is better than almost everybody else in the world. I'm just saying, and you know it's true. I mean, well, to me, being a music fan, I'm sitting here and going, my God, show me a better group of guys and a better band that can do all this stuff. You know, you guys could come off the stage having played something burning and kind of, that just didn't really feel okay. And yet everybody is sitting there going, oh my God, that was amazing. You know what I'm saying? You follow what I'm saying?
I really think that's a wonderful thing, but it can apply to anybody. Whoever you are, there's a billion people that would trade places with you right now. Whoever you are, whatever your problems are. And I think that all the guys would agree how lucky that we are that we get to do what we do. On our worst day, we get to play music, even if we have to play music we hate. I remember a time when Wayne Bergeron called me up about 3 years ago, 4 years. He goes, "I just did the session that's going to knock me out of the music business. I can't do this again." I'll tell you what movie it is, but
don't say shh.
Wayne has gone on to make a lot of money traveling the world playing music from this movie. The first session, Andy too. They were like, Andy calls it, this is the, what do you call it, the new good.
The new good.
Here's the new
Gordon, you just made it. So I think you probably all are familiar with the documentary called Score.
Yeah.
You are? You guys seen Score, the documentary?
I've heard about it.
Wayne? Wayne? Okay, so, well, the rest of you need to see. Well, Wayne, Score is about, is a documentary about the film writing music industry in LA. You guys who write music for films. And I saw it, several clips, Wayne and Andy, several clips for, I think, Angry Birds.
No.
Angry Birds with Herrera de Pierta.
Probably me or Minion.
But there was a bunch of shots of both of you guys because you're kind of close to each other. You know, I'm not sure what studio that was. I think it was multiple studios, but a very good. I love that documentary. Eric, I also saw you in one thing. Yeah, it was great. It was about. It kind of gave homage to the players, the guys who do film recording, and all the people writing and what it takes to write film stuff. And,
it's pretty cool. I just saw it the other night, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
Weeks ago. Yeah, it's
and you guys are in the film industry, which I've never been. So it'd be interesting if I ever have a private conversation, you know, maybe you'll watch that thing and go like, yeah, but a lot of that was bullshit. You know, I don't know. Or it was great. I don't know.
That particular film, that guy's a great composer.
Guys do that stuff.
He's a great composer. Don't you think, Andy?
Yeah, Hightower.
Hightower, yeah. He's a really creative soul, you know, and a cool guy too, man. He's
Good to work for him. He's always giving props to the musicians, always complimenting everybody, telling funny stories, and it makes everybody relax when the leader is kind of loose and not so serious.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, his music is very serious, and we seem to take care of business in a happier way and in a more efficient way, I think. But Haytor's, man, he's a great composer and a great guy. Yeah,
I met. It's funny. We did this right after I met you, Gordon, at Royal Albert Hall when you came to our gig, which was a big surprise. I'm glad I didn't know you were in the audience till after the gig, because it made me, you know, because those other guys from.
You know, I'm sitting with Jacob Collier at that concert.
Right. So Jacob Collier was there, and the next day we had this session. Jacob Collier hired us for this session. We did it at Air Studios in London,
Right.
which is the one George Martin, you know, did this thing. So we're in Studio B, which was huge. I thought it was a pretty huge studio, and Studio A was the converted church. And I got off. It was a long session. We were there 8 hours. The way Jacob works, he's great, by the way. I love the way he worked, but he was taking his time. It was a long hang. So I came out and I realized they were having a session in the other studio, in Studio A, and they all of a sudden the doors open. All these string players came out, and I go like to the contractor. I go, "Can I go in there?" And she goes, "Sure, go in there." she knows we were recording in the other studio. So I go in there and I'm looking at the studio and I'm going like, I've seen this studio in Score, watching the documentary. I've seen the studio. That's right. This is George Martin. I'm looking at it, I'm taking pictures of it, and I go up to the conductor's studio to look at the score, and I see Angry Birds, Pieta Pieta, and I go, wait a second, that's that cat from Score. And then I look in the control booth, and there he is, same guy. I've watched this documentary twice, so I kind of wandered in and I just say, I'm just going to go say hi. What the hell? So all they can do is say, get the fuck out. I'm going to say hi. I said, I saw you in Score, whatever. I'm over there. I'm recording with I don't know if you know the band Tower Power. And he goes, of course. We all know Tower Power. I go, phew, okay. Anyway, so he comes in and he's so friendly. He's so nice at just talking about stuff. And I came back later, about 2 hours later, I snuck in and, he saw me sitting in the back of the room and he looked at me and goes, like, sit next to me at the board. And I go like, I'm going to just sit here. I sat there for like 25 minutes just sitting there watching what you guys do all the time with, of course, English musicians. And it was incredible just to watch how you guys do that stuff. I consider myself a good reader. Back when I was sight reading a lot. But what you guys do, I don't know. I probably shit my pants. I'm a good reader. I'll make some mistakes and I take, I'll look at it and then I'll get it right, But you guys are like perfect, man. It's hats off. I saying that I couldn't do that. I think maybe I could do that, but that's some skill that I could have because I am a good reader. But that level of reading that you guys do, you go into a studio and have to be perfect. And do you guys ever feel pressure doing that?
Oh yeah.
Eric, do you feel ever pressure? Like you look at a part and go like you look at something that's a little technically hard, and do you ever have any angst, or do you just go like no? Oh, God.
No, are you kidding? Just whatever, man. Come on, notes. I eat notes for breakfast. Come on, what are you talking about notes?
Hey, you guys, I have to blow here because my wife is out there making me this incredible dinner, and I just heard the wine cork pop.
Oh.
I thought you were gonna practice. You said blow. I thought you were gonna practice.
No, those are the old days. That's a whole nother thing.
Oh, okay. So, Gordon, Andy, Wayne, Eric,
Thank you guys so much for
and
hanging.
Ray. Yeah, thank you for doing this and hanging out and letting me be a fan and talking with you guys.
Likewise. I'm
fun
such a fan.
hanging with you guys too.
You guys. Yeah.
All you guys, you're playing, and the Big Fat Band, and Gordon, you're writing, just gives me so much joy.
Thank you so much.
Listen to you guys playing, you guys make me happy. When I listen to you guys play, you guys make me happy. Andy, I listen to your jazz albums. Eric, Wayne, Ray, I'm going to check up on you playing more because you're new to me. And
I'll right back at you, Tom, with all your work power, man. Incredible.
Yeah, no kidding.
By the way, Eric and Gordon, when you guys played in the booth, I think Gordon, you were pimping one of your new books, and you guys played jazz to tracks. And you were playing tenor. I thought that was you guys played pretty good, man. You guys were burning it down. You guys were playing standards and it was very happening. I really enjoyed that little. As much as you can enjoy anything at NAMM with all the background noise, but you know what I'm saying.
Oh.
I think that was 2019.
Okay, so rather than trying to play a little video clip because the screen will freeze up, I'm just going to play some music and then just do a
Uh-oh.
hard stop on the stream. And this is from the Gordian Knot album. And say thank you.